Hey, welcome back everyone to Guy Talk for the Uninformed. I'm Jimbo. This is Danno.
Hello. Nice to see everybody again.
Yes. Can you believe it's been... okay. I'm going to take this off. Jeez. I'm vaxxed. You're vaxxed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we are using the paper ones because these are supposed to at least be a little more effective for the Omicron. But anyhow, welcome to Guy Talk for the Uninformed. As I said, I'm Jimbo. This is Danno. And can you believe it's been over 2 years since we've done this?
Hold the presses. Are you serious?
I had to look at the episode 3, at the last one that we uploaded, and that was from October of 2019.
My God. I would have guessed like 2 months.
I would have guessed like a year. Yeah. 2 months, yeah.
Well, it's been long overdue.
Yeah. It's been long enough that if you went to my channel, you would think that my ADD kicked in and I just decided to drop this and start something new. But maybe it's just a trilogy. But we did tease a part 2 with the dating topic.
That is where we left off. This is our 4th episode.
This is our 4th episode, and this is supposed to be where we talk about offline dating, because in the last episode we talked about online dating and all those little intricacies and what's all involved with that. You were a lot more familiar with that scene than I was.
Yeah, and I think later on this episode we'll actually revisit the online dating.
I think we kind of have
during the pandemic, because I think that's the interesting thing. But let's focus on the offline part.
Well, first off, what are you drinking? Because, geez, I mean, that's how we start every episode.
I call this the mixture of the gods.
The mixture. Okay.
I also call it a Negroni.
Okay.
Delicious.
And what's in a Negroni?
Negroni is one of the easiest and most complex at the same time cocktails known to modern man.
I'm already impressed.
1 part Campari, 1 part sweet vermouth, and 1 part gin. That's all it is. Simple as that. You can tweak it as you may. I
underestimate gin. I don't do enough gin. Carrie, my girlfriend, likes gin a lot, and if I'm going to have any drink with gin in it, usually it's her influence. Okay. But it's definitely an underrated alcohol in my book.
Gin is usually the center of any cocktail that I make, but Campari is my favorite liqueur, so it's the perfect drink for me. How about you?
Well, I went with a classic Manhattan. This is kind of my go-to. If I'm not doing like a chocolate martini or something like a dessert-ish drink. But yeah, and this bourbon's interesting. It's got a really interesting finish because it was finished in a port barrel.
Oh,
and so it's almost got kind of this. It's got this like Swedish end to it.
Okay.
But the
not
front
Swedish,
end of it.
The country.
No.
Okay.
No.
Swedish. I gotcha.
Sweet as in sugar. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's very good in a cocktail. It's good by itself, but it's really good.
I feel like that's a good winter drink. Right now we're in Minnesota. It's negative.
Yeah.
Wind chill is negative.
It's negative
15.
cold. Yeah.
It's cold.
I mean, it gets to a point where it's just
port. Like you saying port reminded me of like that's a perfect cold weather drink.
Yeah, it's kind of like when I used to be a beer drinker, I'd go for like a porter or a stout.
Yeah.
Yep. In the winter months.
A porter. Port. I wonder if
like I planned that.
Wow. Okay. That's a whole other episode.
Yeah, another talk. So, anyways, cheers.
Cheers.
And so how the hell have you been holding up?
I've been holding up. I mean, hopefully I don't look like I've aged in 2 years. I mean, 2 years worth of aging.
So you're 18 finally.
Yeah, I've grown up. Good. I mean, the pandemic has treated me pretty well. You know, the shutdown and everything, staying inside, but you could still get your walks in. All of that was nice.
Yeah.
So and now things are starting to open up, but you know, it's kind of the wave thing. So, but all in all, pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, about the same. As far as like working out and stuff went, that was a challenge for me. I ended up having to buy resistance bands because you couldn't buy dumbbells anywhere.
Oh, it was the toilet paper, and then it was the next thing that was hard to find were resistance bands.
Yeah. Like I couldn't find. I thought, well, maybe I can just get like a set of like 40 or 50 pound, like some sort of dumbbell where I could I can just add reps and do it at home, and I couldn't find them anywhere. So I ended up opting for the resistance bands because that seemed like at the time the only thing you could find.
Yeah.
And then eventually I got a pull-up bar, which is now out in my balcony because I don't.
And I can
need it.
tell.
Oh, just for you. I've been trying to stay in shape just for this one episode.
Wow. Well, you got my eye.
So, but no, it's been good. I missed a lot of social activities. I'm a bit extroverted, so not being around people is difficult. And I'm still working from home. In fact, I think we're set till like January of 2023. So, I mean, I don't anticipate this will ever go back to being completely normal. I can't see myself ever being back in the office.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been going on for, since March of 2020. So.
Yeah, times have definitely changed.
Yeah.
I feel like we could have so many different just episodes on things to talk about.
Totally. My lifestyle is so weird right now. I'm a night owl as it is, but just working from home and getting used to that, not having to develop a structure. Actually, I think it's been a little more challenging in that regard, having to like be a little more disciplined, figure out a structure that. Yes, I'm working throughout the day, even though I'm at home. When do I go to the gym, which is actually earlier than it used to be? So you don't need to know all the details of that, but it's been a challenge, but I've gotten used to it, as I'm sure most people have in 2 years.
Yep, you adapt.
Yeah,
for sure.
But no, the last time we left off, we teased that we were going to talk about offline dating, which in other words, dating someone that you meet in person rather than meeting them online.
And at that time, I was strictly online dating. I was going through the Hinges, through the Bumbles, through the whatever, what have you. Maybe there's been a new one developed since then.
And that, okay, not to interrupt, but that to some degree surprises me because I've known you now since like 2008, 2007, somewhere in there for a good long time. And you are such a personable person. You're very outgoing. You're very friendly. And so I feel like the vibe I get off of you is that it'd be super easy for you to approach anyone, get a conversation going, depending on the circumstance, and get digits and meet someone that way.
For me, before dating apps were even a thing, I asked out maybe 5 girls, whether it was like through text or in person, and it never really turned out well.
Okay.
So it kind of scared me away. And I don't know, like it's so much easier for me. I don't know if it's confidence or whatever, but it's easier for me to like do the online dating. So I never really, and I understand that too. Like I can easily just like talk to a girl, a friend at a bar, but then like if it comes down to like asking a girl out, for some reason like the pressure builds on me, and like words don't come out of my mouth right, like things just don't act right.
Yeah,
where
totally.
I could type it a lot better.
Totally understandable. And to be fair, now my experience has been pretty much the opposite of you, but I will say this though, it's at least for me, it's kind of a trained thing to get the confidence, to kind of just build it up as in your repertoire to on the verge of your next sentence to ask for a phone number and stuff.
Teach me.
It took time, and you'll never completely get rid of that little bit of nervousness, but you can learn.
It's like college bars, right? You have to have 10 beers before you go talk to them. So are you saying that you could just sober go approach a...
Yes. Yeah.
So let's hear about those experiences.
Well, hang on a second.
Okay.
All right, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But so I can completely understand, and if you boil it down to, it's a numbers game, and what better source for hitting a large number of women than to go online? Like it makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. It's although to some degree that seems to me a little more brutal because since there's so many guys, there's so many people in that community of online dating that I feel like the standards, the odds are slimmer and the standards are higher.
It's definitely pros and cons. Like for face-to-face, it's a lot more personable, where I know plenty of girls that don't even go do the online apps. They just, they wait for a guy to ask them out basically. So those are girls that you're never going to find online.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah, there is something to be said about like, well, he had the guts, he had the confidence to ask me out.
That goes a long way with girls, as far as I've heard. I would agree, like that.
And maybe guys too.
Maybe guys too, for sure. So for you, I think you might be of the opinion that it's easier to meet people, like to get to know people quicker face to face. Whereas my experience with online dating, it's you already have the profile, like what they're into, if they're active, they're
yeah, you're given a bunch of information.
A bunch of information. I mean, you're not melding in a way, but at the same time, like you know them and you know like what you're gonna get maybe, and there's false profiles and things like that. So I don't know. It's I think they can both be beneficial.
I agree, and I think a lot of that might just revolve around your lifestyle in general, and your personality. But
yeah.
But if you're someone that doesn't have a lot of time throughout the day, or like maybe you just don't frequent places where, well, I shouldn't say that because my argument is always that there's women everywhere. But,
well, that's a really good point. Like where do you approach women if you're going to ask them out?
So now I sound like an old man, because I'm like, I've been out of the game for so long. Uh-huh. But for me, I remember like mid-20s, I would facet my dating world around just my everyday lifestyle. So I asked out bank tellers.
Hey, I did too.
Yeah, I
didn't go well.
Oh, okay. People at the grocery store, whatever. Like I sound like anywhere I was running on an errand for the given day. Right. but that's just it though. Like because there's women, everywhere. They're 51. I think they're still 51% of our population. So it didn't really matter where you were. There would always be an opportunity. Now, it's one thing to know someone through like a mutual friend, or build up a friendship or a relationship, getting to know someone that way. It's another thing to ask someone out completely cold.
So that was going to be my next question, actually. It's like whenever I did ask a girl out in person, maybe we weren't friends, but I had seen her, 10 plus times, and I'm like, oh, I really like this girl. I'm going to ask her out.
Yeah.
You're saying that you just went first time you ran into somebody?
It was circumstantial. It depended on the situation. Like for instance, going through the drive-through at the bank to make a withdrawal or something like that, and asking out a bank teller, that was completely cold, and that's kind of swinging for the fences. But
that'd be great if she just put her number in the drawer and it's like, there you go.
Actually, I did that.
Tube? Oh, you did that?
I did that because I knew that she couldn't over the intercom give me her number. Okay. So that's what I did, and that is swinging for the fences in my experience. But there's been other times where it's worked out fine. But getting back to your question about like not training, but just kind of getting used to asking those questions or asking women out. That's a great opportunity. That's a great exercise, because chances are you may or may never see this girl again. So what have you got to lose? And in fact, what ended up happening in that situation is that we did not go out, but she called me. I was driving home. She called me and while I was driving home, picked up my phone. Hey, this is, I forgot her name, whatever, Julie from, Bremer Bank. Mm-hmm. And thank you, I'm flattered. She let me down nice. Yeah. But she called me like 5 minutes. It was like, she must have went on break or something.
Bank tellers, very prompt.
Yeah,
very prompt.
Nice. But on the flip side of that, I dated a girl that was a checkout cashier at a grocery store, and that was a one time. Actually, she asked me out, but it was the same thing.
Okay.
Any guy, this is universal. You go to a grocery store, if there's 5 checkout lanes and they're all about the same, you go through the one that has the cute girl.
Oh, you don't go to the shortest line?
Well, if they're all the same.
Oh, if they're all the same. Yeah,
one and the same.
Oh, for sure.
And even if it's just like one person, but yeah, you go for the one with the cute girl working there, and I had that's early 20s, no tact. She was wearing one of those got milk buttons because they have to wear flair at the grocery store. And I think I was like 22, 23, and I was eating like garbage, but I was buying milk. And I'm like, I do have milk. And then for whatever reason, that corniness worked. And yeah, but anyways.
So I'm curious if girls do the same thing, if all lines were even, if they go for the cute guy. Any girls watching, call the number on your screen right now. We'll get you live on and we can talk to you.
It's 555, leave me a comment. And
yeah, but I'm curious if that's the case. I guess we had
Yeah, I would think so, but as guys, I think we put a little more emphasis on superficial looks. We're visual people. Like, kudos to all women who put a lot more weight early on in personality. But I mean, it starts with a glance.
Yeah.
So
another thing that came to mind is blind dating, because this goes into the offline dating.
That seems so early 90s to me now.
Have you experienced?
I have never been on a blind date, and I don't know. I have a hard time believing anyone could this day and age, where everyone's got a phone camera. It seems really describe blind date, because does that involve having a picture?
Well,
does that or do you just mean blind in the sense you've never actually interacted with this person?
Usually a blind date means you don't even get a picture. You're just going into it blind.
Yeah. So that's why that screams early 90s to me.
So Jimbo, I got myself into one of these predicaments probably 5 years ago.
Excellent. I like a good story.
Ended up horribly, but it was a coworker, and she's like, she knew me pretty well, and I thought that she would maybe know the person I'm interested in. And so I met her friend and met out at a bar, and she was with, like, her and her friend were with, and then my friends were out there.
I just thought I have been in a
okay.
Sorry, continue.
Great, I can't wait to hear.
All right.
So long story short, I wasn't interested, and like her friend bailed on us, the one that set us up, so I was left with her than my friends, and she didn't have a ride home, so I got her an Uber, and it was as nice as possible, but it's like, what do you do? And that's like, from that point on, just get a picture. And I feel like it shouldn't be like a low thing. Like, it's not the worst thing to be. You have to be attracted to the person that you want to go.
Well, okay, if Uber's around, clearly she could have just snapped a photo.
Well, I know, but I was kind of just like winging it. Technology was around. I could have easily asked her for a picture, but I felt like I trusted her. And yeah.
Well, good for you.
It didn't go well.
Yeah.
How about you?
Well, it's a pseudo blind date, because what ended up happening was, coincidentally, the girl I briefly dated from the grocery store.
Yep.
This was long after we remained friends, and this was long after the fact that we had dated. And she's like, "Hey, I don't know how it got brought up, but you should come out with me. We're going out to TGI Fridays. Like, I'd like to hang out with you, whatever. And my friend's going to come too." And I'm like, okay. I didn't know.
That was as subtle as it.
Yeah.
Very subtle. Okay.
Yeah. And so I come out there, meet up with them, and it was kind of a backhanded blind date.
Yeah.
Because what ended up happening was we all met up, had dinner. She went to the girl I dated, not really even an ex, because it was very brief.
Yeah.
But her friend, we'll call her Leah, went to the restroom, and my friend Brittany tells me, "Wow, she's really into you." I had told her about you coming in here, so she kind of sprung it on me.
Yeah.
But we ended up kind of hitting things off a little bit, and so I ended up getting her phone number then, which was kind of an easy pitch. Mm-hmm. And we went out a few times, but so that was kind of a blind date. I just didn't know it. Yeah. So not quite the same, because you went in knowing.
Yeah, mine was a true blind date. But I've also done those.
Did she leave you a message on your answering machine on your landline?
I blacked everything out of my mind, like whatever happened after that.
I think that's a fair fair experience that everyone should go through. I didn't go through quite the same as you. Actually, not quite at all.
Yeah.
But that's totally, I don't know, it screams such a night, because like you never hear anyone say blind date anymore.
No, you don't. You really don't.
That's like, what's a blind?
What's their name? You're gonna stalk them somewhere, like friends of friends. You'll find them somewhere. So it'll be a thing of the past in 10 years, probably.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, no, I've always had, and maybe it's just what I'm used to, I've always had an easy time, not always, but in the long scheme of things, I've had more success that way. And maybe it's because I couldn't survive in the online world. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's,
I don't, that's the
it just
thing,
seems easier. Like for a brief period of time, when I was still living in St. Cloud, I would go to, I think it was Caribou. I don't think they had a Starbucks, or there wasn't a Starbucks.
Yeah, Caribou, right there in Division.
On Division,
25th.
yeah. I used to go there, and I would bring a book. I would get, I wasn't a coffee drinker, so I would get like their apple cider, and I would be reading my book. And one time there was a group of girls sitting at a table, and one of my things was always like, whatever I'm reading in my book, I would just go up and ask them a question, be like, "What do you think of this?" It's such an easy icebreaker, and it doesn't. And actually, it's easier to approach a group of girls than it is just to approach one.
But then you gotta eventually single one out that you want.
Well, that's true. Yeah. That's the one you don't talk to.
Right.
But that, I mean, that worked. That was one of my biggest things. It didn't matter where you were. It could be even if you're at like a bar or somewhere. It's always easier to approach a group. And if you are nervous about putting yourself on the spot, then be like, I'm over here because my friend over there wants to know this or that.
Yeah.
Do girl, like I had, these all sound like gimmicks now.
I wonder how college kids do it now. Like out at the bars. I wonder what the like typical, do guys even ask girls out anymore in person?
No, they do this. They grab their phone, they come up to their, "Hey, how you doing? What do you think of this? I'm sending it to you now." No, it's just like, I just don't, everyone's got their head in their phone. I don't know how that works. I didn't even.
Well, I love looking, sorry to interrupt, but
oh, no.
Like you go to a restaurant, any sit-down restaurant, and you look over at a booth and there's two 22-year-olds and they're just down on their phones. That's all they're doing. They're not even talking. We can save this for another day.
No, but well, it's true for guys. Yeah, everyone. Yeah. It's like why even?
I also see like 60-year-olds doing that, but like people are lost in their phones. So.
Yeah, that's a whole nother can of worms, because that just like hits my buttons. Like I just can't stand that. But yeah, I don't know how people do it nowadays. But I used to always have a good time just with groups of girls, because it's way easier to just for me to approach, because it's not like you're putting anyone on the spot, and especially if you're out somewhere with other guys. I even if I didn't have anything like ready to go, I'd be like, all right, girls, how important is it if a guy's shirt matches his shoes? Like, I'm trying to settle a bet over here, whatever. You just need to get in the door.
Have you ever gotten that vibe right away of just like, leave
being
us alone? Because so many times there's a group of girls that does not want to be approached by a guy.
Well, if let's say there's a group of 5 girls.
Yeah.
There's one that might be interested. There's the obvious cock block that doesn't want anything to do with whatever's going on, and if she's going to be unhappy, so is everyone else.
Right.
There's usually a neutral in there that doesn't know one way or the other. A lot of times, one is at least one or maybe 2 are in a relationship. So
that's true.
So there's always a variety, but it's really easy to snuff out the cock block pretty quick. Yeah. But if you can put her on her toes and win her over, or at least
that's just it. Like,
keep her on her guard.
Approaching a group of girls is more like you meet the family for the first time. You want to be good with the mom. It's the same concept. Like you want you want to.
I never thought about that.
You take it. Yeah, hierarchy kind of thing.
Yeah, it definitely is. A a lot of times a cock block is the alpha, but not always.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes there's not even one on a rare instance, but usually in a group there's one. And I can't argue, or I can't really crap on that, because she's just looking out for her girls.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. She's protecting.
Yeah. I've done I don't know what you call it the opposite way, but
I mean, man, if I was one of those girls at the table, and some guy that like had signs that, or just wasn't having it, doesn't have anything to get, like, didn't have that vibe, sure, I could totally see that. So it's nothing to shit on cock blockers.
Yeah.
But
they serve a purpose.
They serve a purpose.
I've probably been a cock blocker a few times anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I always had better, just to bring this to a close, I always had better experience, but that just means I've had more than one, because my ex-wife was the only online dating experience I had.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of hoops, but it obviously did fine. Maybe not in the long haul, but it definitely works. I understand why people do it, and especially now with the pandemic and everything. But for me, it was always, in person, offline, in the real world, and I think a huge factor of that. Now, you brought up the point that you would ask out like a girl that you'd seen like 10 times. You'd gotten to know her a bit. And that was rare for me. Like there were times where I had friends like in college that I had known for a while that I asked out, and that developed into some relationships. But for me, part of where we differ a little bit is that I have an easier time asking someone out that's still mostly a stranger, because I feel like if I get rejected, it's no skin off my nose, because I'm never going to see this girl again.
Well, hey, there's no fake profiles in that world.
I see what you did there.
It might surprise you, but I was stubborn about getting into online dating. I was like,
no kidding.
Yeah, I was not going to do it. It's kind of like stubborn about getting onto Facebook. I wasn't going to do it. Then eventually this, 3 years passed by and you jump in.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally understand where you're coming from, and I look back now and I almost think it would be more difficult to ask out some of the people that I had befriended that I would have liked to have dated, because it's like if you get past a certain point of time, then you have to really face the facts, like, well, am I willing to risk a friendship?
Well, that's
and there are certain people that I, especially now, I'm just like, nope. If this was, I mean, clearly I'm dating someone now, but like if I wasn't, I've thought about it, and I'm like, no, I don't think I could.
Yeah. I
just don't. The group of friends, like we're both in our upper 30s now. The group of friends I'm really proud of. It's a really tight knit group, and I know that they're 100% my friend. Whereas it's, like you go back to like high school or even college.
Oh yeah.
It's a mixed bag, and it's like, man, it's more of like almost at that time for me, it was like a quantity over quality.
Yep, for sure.
Now it's all quality. I want people that are reliable. I don't want to play in games.
Yep.
It's so trite, but
No, it's true. Even if your Facebook profile shows you have 10 friends, those friends would die for you. Like,
yes.
They're there for you.
Yeah. Which reminds me, I should go back and filter out some more now.
Yeah.
It's like a once a year cleansing. Yeah. You can tell we're old. You know why? Because we're on Facebook and
we're complaining about friend counts.
But
so
all right. So offline versus online, they both have their merits, but that kind of tailors. So we're in the middle of a pandemic. Clearly.
I hope we're not in the middle. Maybe we're towards the end of it. I don't know. We'll see. We won't get stuck
there's a lot of letters in the alphabet for variants yet. And then they're going to switch to numbers and code or something. But it's going to be, you've got the O*2 dash delta.
I hope we're not in the middle anymore.
Yeah.
Sorry to ruin your
No,
trainer
but with the pandemic, that adds a whole nother variable to this whole mix.
Yeah.
We weren't clearly anticipating talking about this originally, but you can't escape it. You have to talk about it.
It's perfect.
Yeah. So we didn't. I don't think we.
When
we
was our last
briefly-
episode before this?
It was late October of 2019.
2019. Okay.
And so that was, and I don't know if we mentioned this already, but that was about a month before you had met your significant other.
Yes. So, right. A month after our last episode on online dating, I actually met a girl offline through my sister. Yeah. And just happened, and we're still together 2+ years later.
Yeah.
But about 4 months into our relationship, COVID happened.
Yeah.
So that changed everything. And
No,
it's still
I
happening.
remember
So-
we were at Stouts.
Yeah.
We were at Stouts after volleyball. You told me that you had just been out
Oh yeah, I remember.
with her once,
Yep.
and things went well. And then I am like, we were talking about potential future date, plans, dates, and I'm like, this is gonna be great for our next episode.
Yeah.
And then here we are 2 years later.
Oh man, I know.
Because I'm like, oh, good, because we got to talk about offline dating.
Well, it's kind of a shame that we didn't have episode between October and
Yeah, because we were doing
February.
like once, I think,
Yeah.
once roughly a month. I think we just between the holidays and stuff. But yeah, so I was really excited for our next one because I'm like, oh, we can talk about that. And
proof
and then
that
here we are.
offline dating is the prime example.
Not necessarily, but in your situation, it worked.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. So it's the dynamics of the whole COVID thing. It is interesting for dating.
Well, and you alluded you'd been with her for 4 months before COVID, so you had plenty of time to get to know each other.
I wouldn't know what a couple or I guess two people dating would do if they're 2 months in, a month in, and then COVID happens. Like, what do you?
And then
It really depends on the relationship, like how fast you're going, whatever. But we were fine. Like, I would go to her house, she'd go to my place, and we would just play board games or whatever, card games, because every place is shut down.
Sure. That was gonna be my question, like, because it's not like you could be like, well, let's go out to eat here, and then let's go
just
to a movie,
typical
or let's
night on the town.
go
You can't
bowling.
do that.
Yeah.
No, you just kind of make it work.
Sorry to be, I'm going to be the inquisitive guy here, but so you guys were seeing each other like what, once or twice a week, when you first met.
Yep.
And then when the pandemic hit, like 4 months in, was it about the same?
It's about the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same with me and my girlfriend.
Well, you have a whole different.
I've got a whole. That's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah.
Not a can of worms. It's a whole other story.
Don't say
can of worms sounds
That's
terrible.
not good. We'll edit that out. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, do we want to talk? Have we talked about your relationship in this
I don't know if we have.
thing? Yours is very unique, so I think people would be interested in hearing about it, especially during the pandemic.
I can spill into that. If we're in the pandemic talk. Well, first off, this is 2 years has gone by, so clearly you guys are happy and doing well.
Right. Well, stuck in confined areas for.
You're living together.
Yeah. Well, now we're living together, right? Yeah. And before that, it's kind of almost like I guess you're outside, but yes, we're living together now for the last 6 months. So yeah, it's going good, and
That's awesome.
COVID be damned.
Yeah. You work with what you've got. So
You work with what you got, for sure.
Yeah. So you want me to talk?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. What was that? We're on 5.5 years, I think, roughly. The way I met my girlfriend is kind of a hybrid of sorts, because what happened was we were doing, and you guys can check out on my channel. I have a few episodes on there. Otherwise, go to the Arcade Hangout on YouTube, Google YouTube. It's the same. But we were doing a weekly video podcast show where we were talking about collecting and restoring old vintage arcade games, because that's one of our hobbies. And my girlfriend, her name's Carrie, was one of the few women that we knew in the hobby that also did the same thing. And she joined our crew, and there was about 10, 12 of us. And we were doing that once a week. And then every about 6 months to a year, we would do an event where we would all get together in person, and we would all go to a big local arcade, one that we frequented. A friend of ours opened up in Eagle, Idaho, called Grinkers, which is now shut down because of the pandemic, sadly. But we were doing that. We did that for 5 or 6 years in a row, and some other events across the nation. But we met in person. So she was on our show for a good 6 months or so. And then we had our one of our big events on at Grinkers, and she showed up and I was there, and we just hit it off in person. So, we got to know each other real well. It also helped that we're both kind of in the same profession in what we do. We both work for the government. I'll just leave it at that. But so we had a lot to talk about, and we really just hit things off. And but it was probably 6 months later that we decided to start dating. And now here's the caveat to this whole thing. It's great.
Love caveats. Let's hear it.
We hit things off. We're so good together, but she's 1,500 miles away. She lives in California. I'm in Minnesota.
Okay.
She lives in the Bay Area, and I'm out here in central Minnesota.
I was thinking 1,500 miles is Timbuktu.
Oh.
It's California, though.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's closer than I thought.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's still like a plane ride away.
It is. And the funny thing, now that I've told you about the whole, I'm going to date girls I meet in person, and that's my luck and stuff. Now, if I could go back in time and meet myself,
Yes.
and meet my former self, let's say not even 2 years, just a year before I met her,
yeah,
I would kick my own ass at the thought of, you're going to try to do a long distance relationship.
That's a long distance.
That's long. I might as well be dating someone in another country almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
2-hour time difference.
Easier to date somebody in Canada than it is to date somebody in California.
This is true. Well, depending on the part, but yes.
Yes.
I would have kicked my own ass. So, but things just happened to align at the right time, in the right place, in the right lifestyle. Flights with Minneapolis and San Francisco, they're both major hubs of Delta and Sun Country. Flights in general, and we'll get into the pandemic stuff here, but in general are pretty inexpensive. And by inexpensive, I mean I can get a round trip nonstop flight out there, usually for under $250. A lot of times under $200.
That's really good.
So what we've been doing now pre-pandemic, what we were doing is I would fly out there. Let's say the first weekend of the month, I would go do a Friday through a Monday. And then 2 weeks later, she'd come out and do a Friday through a Monday. So we were each flying out once a month. Very feasible. And we were doing that for, 2-3 years? Yeah, 3 years come when the pandemic hit. Now, the pandemic has actually benefited us, enormously. It's ridiculous because we both are working from home now. We're both telecommuting, forced to work from home.
I swear we should have a pandemic episode, just everything has changed.
There's so many things that have changed, so many things that have happened. Maybe we should. Maybe we'll piggyback off this. Yeah. What do you guys think, all 5 of you?
Call us now, 555.
555, leave a comment. So the nice thing about the pandemic with us working from home is that we can extend our visits. So, for instance, last October, I was out there for almost the entire month because I can bring my laptop and I can work out there. She can do the same. She comes out here. And what's great about this is that up until this point, when you're seeing someone for 4 days every other week, it's great, but you end up treating it kind of like a vacation because it's very temporary. It's like, man, party on. This is going to be great.
Oh, yeah.
It may not be great for our diet, but...
If I'm in California, man, I'm having a good time.
Oh, hell yeah. So it's more like a vacation, and it's kind of like it's not even really a window into your life. So with the pandemic, we are able to kind of gauge what it would be like if we lived together. If this progresses, and so you're not just seeing someone for 4 days, right. You're now seeing someone for 10 days or 14 days or 15 days or,
So I think a lot of people experience that. I heard stories early on, like the first 6 months into COVID, where so many people living together in apartments that were just early on in their relationships, or even like full on in their relationships, and they had things
you
to do.
can speak from experience too. Not
like
quite,
people with social, like they had social things going on, and now they were inside with their significant other, broke up.
Yeah.
Like they realize, I really don't need this person, or
can't stand them full time.
Can't stand them. Yeah, that
can't
kind of
stand
thing.
you, George.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a true test.
Yeah. And up until that point, our tests of our relationship were we survived IKEA together. We went to the Mall of America and we survived that.
IKEA is supposed to be a bonding experience.
It wasn't. Well, it wasn't. It worked out for us.
Okay.
But that place is a fucking maze.
Oh, on purpose.
And on purpose. In fact, we went there. This is like 2017. Yeah. We went there to look for actually these exact seats that we're sitting on, because we had these wood chairs that were a back killer, and so we went there looking for chairs. We found our chairs, but then it was like an hour of trying to navigate our way out of there.
$500 worth of things.
Yeah. What ended up happening was one of the employees had some sympathy on us and showed us a secret door. I kid you not. A passage, like an employee just go through here.
It's like at a haunted house. It
totally was. It was amazing. It probably saved us an hour and a half.
And a lot of money.
But yeah, so now we're experiencing what it's like on a day-to-day life. Okay, we both work during the day, and we're both gonna be around each other for the better part of the day. How are things? How are we going to flow? How are things going to flow? And the one good thing is that our diets, our lifestyle of eating is relatively the same, and so as far as that goes, not a problem. But we're in the same room, so I'd be at her kitchen table with my laptop. She'd be on her couch with her laptop and her workstation. She'd be on a meeting. I'd be on a meeting. I'd be doing something with my headphones on. She'd be doing that. Then 2-3 p.m. rolls around. She's got a break. Now with the 2-hour time difference, my day is basically done at like 1:30 her time, because I'm done normally at 3:30 p.m.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so when she has a break, then we go walk her dogs, and then she works for a couple more hours, and then we've got dinner and happy hour and all that. Then our day actually begins together.
Nice. Sounds like vacation.
It's not that bad. It's not that far off. It's different because it's not like we're not drinking every day or something, or we're not going out to eat every day. Yeah. But man, I got to tell you, it's been a real godsend, because, as my sister would say, you've been around each other that much and you haven't tried to kill each other. So that's a perk. But no, it's great. Like, I'll go out there for 2-3 weeks, and during the week we do our thing. But it's nice to have another body in the room.
Who's that?
You. No. But it's nice to have. It's nice to have her in the room.
There's another person besides you two in the room.
It's us, and then there's some other guy. He's just sitting there in the corner. Yeah. But no, it's nice to have another like having her in the same room, even though we're both doing our own thing and working. Like it's really nice. And And we've pushed that to all different degrees. It's been, it started out, I'm coming out there for a week. And then she'd come out here for 10 days. And I was out there for 2 weeks. And then, it escalated. Like, I basically the entire month of October, because where she lives, Halloween is like their Christmas. Everyone goes overboard for Halloween. It's amazing. But anyways, that's another conversation. But it's been great. The pandemic that's been one of the only perks, if not the only perk to this whole pandemic, other than working from home, has been that we've got to spend a lot of extra time together. Yeah. And we meld together really well.
Yeah. So going from people, I don't know if you want to make the jump now, but going from people from knowing each other, having like a foundation going into COVID, opposed to people starting dating during COVID.
I have no idea how any of you out there, and if you have just met your significant other during the pandemic, I would love to hear about it. Post a comment or something. Because it baffles me like how you'd go about doing that. And like if it was me, and I'm at Whole Foods and I'm having a conversation with someone, and how do I?
Oh, right.
How do I?
Your eyes are beautiful.
Wow, she's got great eyes, great hair, nice legs, nice shoes.
Yep. Oh, exactly. Well, no, put that back on. I want to see if you can smile through your mask. Some people say you smile with your eyes. Smile with your eyes. Like, smile into the camera. See if people can tell.
All right, this is me not smiling. I can't do this. This is me not smiling. This is me smiling.
Oh, I can
See,
tell.
I got cheekbones.
The ears come out. The ears went back.
Oh.
Because your cheekbones went up and the ears went back.
So I don't know if you've done this, but I've caught myself thinking that people can notice me smiling and not forgetting that I have a mask on.
The biggest challenge for me, because I'm a smiley guy, was people not seeing me smile when I had my mask on.
You can't make a joke because if they don't know you're smiling, they're going to think you're just an ass.
I know. Everything. It was horrible. Like, I just generally, just to make sure it's not an awkward situation, I smile at people. And I couldn't do that.
Well, it doesn't help that one of my masks, cloth masks before these, I had one of my favorite horror movies, so low budget horror movie called Puppet Master. And the mask, it's a black mask, but it's got this mock-up of one of the puppets in the movie called Blade, who's like a skeleton and has a smile going up like this. Kind of looks like, if you ever seen V for Vendetta, kind of like looks a little bit like that. Yeah. So I wear that, so it looks like I've got this like creepy smile going on. Yeah. And so I just got used to that. And only like 2 people have picked up the movie reference. Okay. And so they all always think, oh, I really like your mask, but they don't really get the reference. But it's got this permanent smile. So I just kind of got used to that. So now, now I still think that like if I smile, I catch myself. I'm like, oh, they can't see I am smiling.
Yeah. So, I mean, dating in the pandemic, I'm guessing.
Way to bring it back.
Well, you're always thinking like in-person dating. I'm always thinking like online dating, where you would have face masks if you're going out, meeting somebody at the bank or in the aisle.
Holy shit! This is your blind date right here. It's let's. All right, on 3, 2, 1, let's do the reveal.
Right. Yeah, for sure. But that wouldn't be a problem with online app.
where you have pictures.
Dating app daters, but so I don't know, because I've been in a relationship now for over 2 years.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That's impressive. Especially going right into the pandemic.
Yeah, I'm curious how dating apps, like, I'm sure they had some kind of they have all kinds of filters.
Like, do they have a question?
Yeah.
Are you vaccinated?
Are you vaccinated?
Yeah.
Are you willing to meet in person? Like, anything like that.
Are you willing to be tested before meeting?
Yeah. Well, exactly. And even, it took how long to get have the test. So like people were,
just recently
it was
now
eight
we
months
can get free
into
tests.
it, right? It was 8 months into it before we had tests. So like people that were seriously liked each other that wanted to meet, how did that actually happen?
Yeah.
That's what I'm curious
That
about.
reminds me, I need to order that the post office test. No,
yeah.
You heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to do that, but yeah, it's been because this last holiday over New Year's, not Christmas, New Year's, I had not symptoms, but well, I told you about this, but I was curious, like, did I just get over COVID and I just didn't know it?
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't find testing anywhere. And that's a problem.
Yeah.
And then it seemed like just a week later, a couple weeks later, now the USPS we can get our test. But yeah, is that a question now on online dating?
Well, then dating too. Like, let's say that you're dating early on in the pandemic, and you want to meet. Like, stores are closed by then. Anything like going out to a bar, coffee.
We even discovered like how early the bars are closing.
Right.
When we did the pre-Thanksgiving meetup at Stouts.
Yeah. Well,
they shut down at like 9.
But that was a year and a half into it. Like I'm just saying, like 6 months into it before there was testing
you're talking
anything.
early on.
Yeah.
Like everything was locked down.
What did people do for dating? Did they like? You couldn't go to a coffee shop, and I usually like a girl will not go to a guy's house and let's say meet them. You're not going to go to a guy's house on the first date.
You shouldn't.
You shouldn't.
No.
So I heard like a bunch of first dates are just happening in parks. Like, hey, I'll meet you at this park. Let's outside because everything else is closed, and that's how you met people. So comment if you had that experience.
Yeah,
I'm interested in that.
I have nothing. I have no idea how you'd get started. Like
Well, and then you have the phases of the pandemic. Like then there's testing. So was there? Oh, you test negative. I did, or I am vaxxed. You're vaxxed. I'm now willing to meet up. Like there's so many different stages, and it's constantly moving.
And the fact that you can't do most of the public's dating stuff that you would normally do,
right?
Then that limits you to basically your residence or her residence, and that's like you're saying, it's kind of a conundrum.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd go about doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people are clever enough to figure that out. Nothing comes to mind right now.
How much weight do you put in another person's mask? The mask they're wearing? If it's just like a normal blue mask, that's like fine. I think that's neutral. If they're wearing a Star Wars mask or something, you're into Star Wars, does that put them up like two points?
I don't know. If it's an N95.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
yeah, so like I'm trying to think of like what are the classic dating venues and what can you
bowling
can't you
alley, roller rink. That's probably 90s. That's probably 90s.
But that's still a good one.
Yeah.
Well, actually, one
like
good
coffee
one.
Shop.
Well, you could go if you both skied or snowboarded or something.
Yep.
You could do that, but you still had to make reservations for a while.
Yeah.
At those resorts.
Yep. I mean the typical. Let's just say you're sitting down for coffee.
Sure.
You couldn't do that
No, not for a while. Yeah.
You could get a coffee to go.
And then you're lucky if that coffee shop still existed. Because, yeah.
That too.
Man, I don't know. I'm sure people are clever enough. I mean, yeah, everyone wants to have sex. I mean, isn't that what this is all about? But
this podcast or life or relationship?
Welcome to Sex for the No.
Yeah.
For the want to. No. Yeah.
But
I
was just curious, just like how dating, and
Yeah.
it didn't cross my mind how in-person dating, I don't think you could meet somebody in person. How could you meet somebody in person? Like you're wearing a mask.
Well,
Would
yeah,
you go,
I mean,
would you
I
go,
think,
would you ask a girl out if she was wearing a mask and you didn't get to see her full face?
Oh, good question. That's tough.
I know.
Because it'd be like, well, let's flip this on its head. What if you were wearing a blindfold, but you could see from here down? What's more important? I think the eyes probably is, but
Teeth are a big deal to a lot of people.
Yeah, and
like,
you've got nice teeth.
A lot of people have like their one or two thing is teeth. So yeah.
Dental hygiene, that's an important one.
Right.
Yeah.
And if they smile, like they could be
Oh yeah.
pissed off all the time and you don't even know.
They could have a big schnoz like me. But like,
you have a beautiful
oh,
shots.
well, thank you. Well, things don't work out with me and Carrie. But no, that brings up so many variables. I don't know how people do. I'm sure they clearly they've thrived at some level, but I just don't understand. Like, that's got to be a question on like eHarmony or Match.
Yeah.
Like, have you been vaccinated, or would you be willing to be vaccinated? Like, they'd probably have a 1 to 5 thing,
Right.
and then how important is testing for COVID prior to a first engagement or something like
Like,
that?
how many times are you meeting in a park before you actually like go to somebody's house? And
Well, my
that's
thing,
per relationship too.
When I was with my ex and we did the online thing with eHarmony, my first thing was we should meet. Like, I was always meet up in some public venue where we both drive there. No one's obligated. So whether that's a coffee shop or a restaurant or something like that. But if you don't have that, are you just gonna, meet at, like you said, some park?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I'm really curious though, because I'm sure there have been. I would love to hear some success stories out of the pandemic as far as just meeting.
Yeah. There's got to be some. Love is out there.
I shouldn't laugh. That was cute.
Yeah.
That was nice. I'm just gonna cut off my response.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I feel like we could keep talking about the pandemic here for another hour.
We kind of get sidetracked on the pandemic when we try to stay focused on the relationship, and I think that we did.
But you're now living with your significant other, and that's going well.
Yep. Yeah. So it's basically went online dating to not even thinking about meeting a girl offline, but just happened through my sister, and there you go, success story.
That's great, man.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
And cheers to you. And
thanks everyone for watching. I don't know what we're going to talk about.
We have plenty of ideas, but hey, if you have an idea, leave it in the comments because we'd love to hear. We have ideas ourselves, but
leave a comment. What are your thoughts on this matter too? I'm always curious about what anyone that's watching this has to say.
Yeah.
So I don't care if it's positive or negative, but I'd be really curious what you guys are thinking about this. What do you think about dating during the pandemic? Do you prefer online or offline dating? All that's fun stuff. But it's been good to be back. It's good to have you both, have you here, have all of you here.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys are doing well, staying safe. We'll see you in the next one.
We'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Cheers.